Oh, greetings, everyone. Welcome to CanadianYouthWorker.com. My name is Jason Frizzell. We hope you had a fabulous summer and a fabulous September. We are back with doing live interviews via Google Hangout with different youth workers from across our country. Today, I'm so excited because we have somebody that I've been trying to meet for a number of years on our fun Google Hangout chat program. A friend of mine, Mr. Mark Watt. Mark, I'm going to toss it to you. We already know your name because I said it, but you can say your name again. A little bit about yourself, kind of what you do in the world of youth ministry and ministry in general.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. Yeah, my name's Mark. I'm out here at Camp Caroline. I've been here for 4 years, and my role here is program manager. So I kind of take care of everything summer related. I live here all year, planning for our summer season and hiring staff, visioning for that, kind of lining up budgets and program ideas and all that kind of good stuff. And then running some youth conferences and stuff like that here on site at the camp throughout the year, and a number of different things like that. So that's kind of a quick snapshot at what I do. Yeah, I mean, for me, I ended up here in a kind of roundabout way. I really encountered Jesus at camp and through camp when I was in high school, and it was kind of an anticipated for me. My dad convinced me to go to this kind of like a work program, like 2 weeks work program at a camp in BC, and I encountered God in a fresh way, in a way that just really kind of blew me away, and met some people there that just really surprised me, and so yeah, it's kind of just been a part of my DNA for a long time. Just been like, man, understanding the power and significance of an experience like camp, and so. So it got me here.
Very cool. And I love that you are wearing a name tag today with your name on it. I see that there. Can you put that up on the camera?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about right there. Yep.
Boom.
Camp Caroline. We don't mess around.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Now, for those of you who don't know, Camp Caroline is actually camp here in Alberta, which is my home province now, although I do, as you see, cheer for the Leafs, who are going to win. Something, I don't know what. This is my playoff beard. I probably should be drinking
started now.
For the playoffs. But Mark, I got 3 questions here for you before we jump into my favorite part of the interviews, and that's the Great Canadian Youth Worker Quiz.
Yeah.
The first is this: what is one myth about camp ministry that you would like everyone to know? It's your chance, your platform to demyth something. What would that be?
Man. I don't, it's a tough one. When you told me that was going to be one of the questions, I thought, you know what, why don't I sit at the table with the staff here, over lunch, and ask them what their thoughts were. And the first thing that came out from 3-4 people was that the myth that it's easy. I think that was the first thing. People just were saying, yeah, it's a lot of work. It's like there's crazy stuff that goes on here. It's like residential camps. They come here. We've got kids staying, kind of living here. When we've got staff here in the summer, it takes us about 90 staff to make a week of camp work out here at Camp Caroline. And so when you're dealing with the management and the hearts and minds inspiration of these people, staff alone, there's a lot to that, logistics and all those sorts of things. And then when you flip that over and look at what we're doing with the kids, maintenance of these buildings, facilities, just all that kind of stuff. I think one of the guys, that was his first thing. He's been on staff for half a year now, and he came from the trades, and used to be a project manager building buildings and stuff, and now he's out here, which is awesome, as our operations manager. And he just chuckled. That was the first thing that came to his mind. He's like, yeah, it's not as easy as people think. That's kind of on like the internal side. But one thing that I had been thinking about when it came to myths is that sometimes I think camps try to be something that they're not. And I think it comes from the churches and the people around kind of pushing camps and asking a common question of what's your follow-up. And I think a lot of camps really get hung up on that and spend a lot of time and energy and resources in trying to be everything to everybody, with kind of forgetting that the camp's purpose is actually to facilitate the church and not to try and become it. And so I'm kind of unapologetic about that. That what we do is we create an experience that can't be created in other places. When you come out here, it is only a week-long situation. And hopefully you make some relationships and grow some friendships that can continue when you leave this place. But it's hard for us to pick up that ongoing sort of follow-up that's like constant. And so that I've got lots more to say about that. But that's, I think, one of the myths is that sometimes I think people see camps and expect them to be a lot more than what they should just focus in on being. So. Yeah.
That's awesome, man, and I love those two things. I agree with you. I think a lot of people think camp and all they think of is fun all summer. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot more that goes into it: the logistics, the safety elements, the making sure that people are well cared for and fed, maintenance, all the stuff that you described.
Yeah.
I also love that second point that you touched on, because I think we as youth workers who work in a local church setting have that similar tension. And so we can fall into the trap and the mindset that the 6 years that we have a student through junior high and high school, or middle school and high school, is the pinnacle experience of their entire life. What I like is, I'm talking to more and more youth workers around our country, is we're beginning to see that as a springboard into the rest of their life. Mm-hmm. And I see camp fitting a very similar theme and a very, very similar model, where it's the springboard experience for a kid, so that they can then go do whatever it is that God's invited them into, or be who God's invited them and created them to be in their context away from camp, right?
Yeah,
and I really see like that's a real cool partnership initiative, which leads us really well into the second question of where camps and churches can work more cohesively together, more collaboratively together for the sake of the kingdom. And when I say that, I mean God's kingdom, not a camp's kingdom or a local church kingdom. I mean the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
Where do you see us working better together?
Yeah. I love this one. This is one of my most favorite, questions. Camp Caroline is part of the Alberta Baptist Association of Alberta, so NAB, so North American Baptists in North America. And we've got 60 churches that are affiliate churches right here in this province. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I keep telling these guys, because sometimes some of the pastors or people in the church, they come to camp and they're kind of sometimes a bit skeptical, and they'll say things like, well, what's your follow-up? Mm-hmm. And I love that question, especially if it's coming from the church, because my answer to them is always, you are. Because it was never intended for us to be that. Mm-hmm. The whole point of us, Camp Caroline, the reason why we work hard to keep the lights on and to expand and grow and be an exciting place for people to come where they feel rested, they feel inspired, all these kinds of things. The reason why we put all the energy into doing that is so that we can actually just be a facilitator of a specific type of experience for the church. Mm-hmm. We're just trying to, so in the summer it looks like, crazy programs for kids of all ages and families. In the year it looks like retreats and conferences where people can get away from the city and come and sit in quiet or worship together or gather and just and grow in community. So we serve that purpose to serve the church. That's our entire purpose. If we start outside of that, we start missing the point. Camp Caroline was established in the first place so that our churches could use this place as a place that allows them to go deeper, understanding the kingdom more, understanding the necessity of relationship and just like community and unity. Mm-hmm. And so I love that, because what I tell the churches is that we're just a catapult, and we do everything we can to like wind up the catapult, especially when it comes to summer. And here's the catapult, and we're just winding it up all year, right? Like budgets and staff and like you name it, like water balloons, right? You just get all the stuff sorted out. We advertise, we market, get the kids, get everything, right? We wind it up, and then we just cut the cord 8 times, boom, 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 and of this experience. So, it's like we're this catapult that winds up, kids get on it, and we just launch them into this experience. It's like, yeah, you're going to go wakeboarding, you might play paintball, you're going to be sleeping in this cabin with 7 other crazy kids, and you're going to be meeting crazy counselors and just staying up and doing crazy stuff. And when we launch, boom, we launch, and that's it, right? And what I love is I love the idea of us just doing this, and then boom, we launch. And on the catapult is all our youth workers, all our guys are getting on the catapult with the kids, so that when we go boom like this, the kids are like launching back to their city, and the youth workers are launching back with them, continuing in this relationship as being part of that experience with them, being kind of part of this, like, we're kind of like a catalyst, right? We're this benchmark, this experience, and when the youth workers or pastors come and they spend a week here during a junior high week, and they experience that with kids that are right down the street from their church, and those kids are coming back to their church, man, the kind of synergy and the relationships and the building on top of that happens there. We need those churches, our churches, to be a net, just to be catching these kids that are being launched out of this experience, going, whoa, Jesus, whoa, like this, like, kingdom, and eyes open to all this stuff, and then they fly out our gates, and they're like, whoa, Camp Caroline, and then boom, back in the city, splat, and then the classic September, wow, whatever. That was my summer experience. I had the high, and now I'm back on the reality.
Right.
For us, trying to avoid that, that's that, like, relationship, like, how can we in the church, that's the church using us. I love it. I tell them, use us, because a lot of people aren't like, oh, use, there's this, like, negative connotation that comes with that. I'm like, no, be out here. Come, we'll put beds aside for you. We'll do what we can so that you can be part of the experience, because that's how this works. It only works when the church, doesn't have to be ABA, it's just our churches here are recognizing the power of that experience and are coming in, being part of it, and just and continuing the conversation from here. And it has to be that way. I'm just like, yeah, that's huge.
Oh, that's really cool, Mark. I really appreciate that. And I think a lot of times, from a youth worker perspective, I think sometimes we have been unfairly seeing a camp in terms of a competition, maybe, for kids in whatever. Just like within a city network, we see one church, they're doing something awesome, and now we're like, oh crud, I guess we have to do something really super awesome because we have to compete. And I love what you are saying, and I'm hearing you say about this. It's not about a competition at all. It's about us doing what we do well, being an arm, so we can throw kids back into your world, so that you can be the other arm and catch them, so that they can continue to grow and develop into who God has created them to be. So that's really cool. There's got to be a tension in that, as you're describing this as a program director who's in charge of, like you said, budget and facility and all that stuff. There's got to be a tension and a, may I call it even a temptation to become more business-driven than ministry-driven. Would you agree?
I think sometimes, for sure. I mean, when you look at the year-round stuff specifically for us, we're booked solid throughout the year, and so, we need to be very wise from a business standpoint, because if we're not, I think just same with as a church in some ways, if you're not wise in that regard, then I mean, you got to shut the lights off and the boiler goes and you can't fix it. You know what I mean? And so we've been blessed over the years to have solid groups all year. We're booked out into 2015 and 16 if we wanted to, with groups that come Monday to Wednesday, then Wednesday to Friday, and then Friday to Saturday, week in and week out all year. And so that's huge for us. And from that comes the opportunity of the income that comes. If it's a school group coming in from the school system, or if it's a church coming in with a retreat over a weekend, we've got 350 beds here. And you can just do incremental business if you wanted to and say, well, we're going to say no to the group of 50 and we'll say yes to the group of 200, or just market to get the groups of 300 in here and then cut out the groups of 100. You know what I mean? You can start doing that all day. But what we kind of function on, we just place this foundation on some values that just are unshakable for us. Number one priority is summer camp for us. And so if we've got groups during the year that are not Christian groups, they're from a school system or whatever, and they come in here, the purpose and the vision behind that is that they allow us to fund what we get to do in the summer and tell kids about Jesus. And when those groups come, we're unapologetic about who we are. We say we are a Christian camp. We're going to pray at every meal. We're going to show you our camp video for the summer and encourage you to come and be a part of it because we think it's awesome, you know. And we're just plastered with posters all throughout the whole place. You know, paintball. You know, awesome friendships. You know, come ride a horse. You know, all that kind of stuff to try and get those kids to come back. And what we found is in the summertime we got a ton of these kids coming back. So our priority is always, well, what's going to help build us towards that summer camp experience? That's our foundation. The second is, how can we focus on building evangelical groups? So how are we encouraging them? How are we facilitating a place so that they can come, they can retreat and do all that kind of stuff? And then our third, and this sounds bad, especially since we have so many of these groups, but our third and last priority is to properly and facilitate our school groups and non-Christian groups that want to come. However, with that one comes this tension where we say we don't shy away from who we are, and we don't accept certain groups that are completely contrary to our belief system. So we wouldn't have a Buddhist group come in for some sort of retreat or anything like that. So anyways, that's aside there, but absolutely, I mean, there can be some of that tension, but I think it comes down to leadership. It comes down to what we're doing here in terms of continuing to remind people of what our heart is, what the purpose is that's behind all this stuff. And I've found, ever since being here at Camp Caroline for the last 4 years, I've been blessed by that. I've been encouraged by what that looks like here. Because, I mean, vision leaks, I don't know if you've heard that term. It's like there's this bowl and it's cracked and you pour vision into it, but then it just seeps through the cracks. And vision is something that needs to be like an open faucet that just stays on and just keep pouring it in there. And it's almost on a weekly basis with our management meetings that we sit down and we always are reminded, what's the heart here? Why are we here? As part of the executive leadership, we're constantly saying to people in our constituency and even on management here, hey, I mean, is this the best use of our resources and time? And if it is, let's keep doing it. But if it isn't, let's sell the whole place. Why not? And people in the church that are own Camp Caroline, they hear that and they're like, well, yeah, but you've been since 1972. Camp Caroline is Camp Caroline, and we say, yeah, but we're about kingdom. We're not about Camp Caroline. We're not about the success of the programs or the buildings or the facilities, any of that stuff. That's just stuff. If God's saying to spend our time and our energy for the sake of the kingdom, then let's put the for sale sign on the door and let anybody else come and purchase the place. You know what I mean? And it kind of shocks people, but it allows us to purify our purpose. And I love that. I love that kind of language. And obviously our doors are still open. We're not for sale, so we're here, man. We believe in the vision. This is good, right? And I think it's healthy even for churches to say, are we doing this right in our community, or should we just put the building for sale and do this differently? I mean, I love that stuff. I think it's healthy with wise leadership.
Absolutely. I love that. I hear what you're saying. Leading with the why we do stuff is absolutely essential. We can always get hung up on the what or the how, but the why has to be the focal point. And it's actually the why that binds us together as well. Because we can all agree on the why, because the why starts with who Jesus is. So that's very cool, man. Last question before the quiz. Outside of Scripture, we trust that as a Christian leader you're immersed in Scripture and text and reading and learning and being empowered by God's Spirit in creative ways. But outside of that, is there anything that you're reading or watching that you're like, this is really sharpening my thinking as a leader in some of these areas that we've talked about?
Yeah, for sure. It sounds like a really corny book, but I picked this up just about a week ago and started skimming through it, and then I couldn't put it down. And it's actually called, and I would never pick up a book like this if I was in, the Christian bookstore or whatever. I'd kind of walk by it and say, yeah, whatever, find something different. But it's part of this curriculum that's happening with this gap year program that we're doing, and so I wanted to get a chance to kind of glance at it. And man, it's called I think it's called The Gift of Being Yourself. And when you hear that, you're like, okay, that's interesting. And it's a Christian book. Like, the whole fundamental purpose of it is that you need to understand God, but you need to understand yourself. When you understand yourself, it allows you to understand God. When you understand God, it allows you to understand yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think part of the reason why it's been significant to me, and maybe one of the reasons why I even want to just mention it, is because, like, if you're a youth leader or you're a youth pastor or you're a senior pastor and you're 50, 60, whatever, you're leading a community. I've seen it in my own family. I've seen it in myself. I've seen it in the leaders I've worked with and that I respect. I've seen this place where we can so easily get lost in I guess a perception of what we should be. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, I'm going to be the youth pastor. I'm going to be the guy who stands up at the church. Hey, church, I'm the guy. And we kind of you can get caught up in certain types of facades even, or insecurities that just take you over. And I think when I was younger, I used to think that stuff, just as you grow and you mature, that stuff falls away. Mm-hmm. And in fact, I'm turning 30 this year, and what I've realized is that stuff doesn't leave. That mm-hmm. stuff is as you continue to press into God and continue to press into leadership, and the more and more you get into point leadership in ministry, the more difficult it actually can become to just be okay with exactly who you are when you stand up in front of 10 or 1,000. If you're communicating with people that you're leading, if you got a staff of 50 or 10 or 70 or whatever, as you stand in front of them, and to just really authentically just be yourself, just be authentic in who you believe God has made you to be, mm-hmm. and not shying away from it, not trying to be something different. And I think there's something significant in that. And it sounds so much like, be yourself, and but it's not. You read the book, you get into it. It's really I've really appreciated some of the pieces that it's got in there, because I think what I want and what I'm realizing more and more of who I want to be is I want to just be completely just laid bare. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. This is it. It's who I am. I understand it. I love it. And so I'm going to say no to that, because I understand that that's not how I function, but I'm going to say yes to that, because that is how I function. Sure. It's understanding what gives you life. And so I don't know. I love that kind of stuff, and it kind of caught my eye, and I couldn't put it down.
Very cool. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us. Appreciate your time, the way you think, just your heart for ministry, how we can work better as the local church and camps, and experiment with that. So for any of you youth workers out there who've got camps around you, buy them lunch. Buy the camp directors lunch. Go out
get in there.
Figure out how to work together for the sake of the kingdom. Because one solution in our context here in Alberta is going to be different across our country. And that's the great awesomeness about being Canadian.
Yeah.
Really quick. It's that time. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Really quick. So with that, there's a guy I know in Vancouver. His name's Craig Young. He used to be a youth pastor. He said something that just hit me, and I loved it. He said he moved to town, became youth pastor at this church. The first thing he did, the first thing on his list was, where is the closest happening camp or booming ministry camp that I can go and be part of? He found it. He said, hey, you need a speaker. He got out there, became a speaker, got these guys excited, connected with the staff, and then came back to a youth group of like 3 people with like 5 to 10 youth leaders that were just excited to come back because they had connected with them at camp.
Mm-hmm.
over the years that he was there, for about 5 years, they grew from a group of like 3 youth to like 50 to 100 people on a regular basis, with like 10 to 20 youth leaders that were just fired up. And he started by saying, where can I find that place, and how can I become their story so that they can be part of ours? And it was like, boom. So that's I love, yeah, there you go. Do that.
Awesome.
Be like Craig.
Very cool, very cool. Don't be yourself, be like Greg.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Do not be yourself,
so we're going to finish our interview here, Mark, with one of my favorite parts, and that's this rapid-fire 5-question Great Canadian Youth Worker quiz. So all of these questions that I'm about to ask you have Canadian-related elements.
All right.
So enjoy, have fun, and remember to laugh. I'm going to put you on the screen. It's not going to be me anymore. It's going to be you, and then I'll sign off when we're done.
Okay. And then do I have to sign off too, or what?
No. We're good. So question number 1, how many Canadian teams made the NHL playoffs last year?
Oh, man, I have no idea.
Yeah. If you said the answer is more than 1, how many?
Canucks definitely didn't.
No, they did not. They didn't.
And that's what matters to me.
Yeah, the Montreal Canadiens.
Nice, that was it.
Yeah. Okay, so number 2, second question. If you weren't Canadian, what citizenship would you want to have?
Oh, man. Yeah. This is supposed to be rapid fire. I was going to say America, but I don't want to get hacked for that.
That's right. Yeah, you're going to, so don't say that.
So I said it. I think America, man. I think that's weird. You know, and in hindsight, when I start thinking about it more, I should probably say it's not, but that's my gut.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go, man.
Yeah, I was expecting like Belgian or anything.
Yeah, I know. I mean, yeah.
Okay, so here's question number 3. Name 2 animals that are on Canadian money.
Canadian money, a loonie.
Okay. What animal?
Well, the loons on.
There you go. Ding, ding, ding. Okay, what else?
Well, that's the second.
Yeah. There's a couple.
Is there a bear? Wasn't there a bear on? I don't know, man. It's probably whatever.
Sure.
Our bills. What's on our bills? You know what?
Beaver. How about
the beaver? What's the beaver on?
Or a caribou.
What's that on?
A quarter, man.
Quarter?
Yeah.
See, I live in you know, this whole credit card and, card stuff. You just tap things, man. I don't even look at money anymore. I don't know what bills are.
What's change?
I give change to my wife. I'm like, hey, can you do something with this? She's like, sure.
There you go. Okay, question number 4. Which Watt brother has the best hair?
Oh, man. Well, you're talking to him.
Oh, there you go. All right.
I think so.
Okay.
Some good hair.
Number 5.
Good hair.
Question number 5. How many Canadian provinces and territories have you visited?
Canadian provinces and territories. Oh, man, I've been to...
Can you list them?
5.
Okay.
Yeah. I think so. BC.
Yep.
Obviously Alberta.
Yep.
Saskatchewan.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been to Manitoba, Ontario,
okay.
And I was born in Quebec.
There you go.
6. That's it.
Very cool. Well done. That was like 80% right there. That's really good.
Sweet, man.
You crushed it. You crushed your brother. It was great.
That was fun. How did Graham do this? How did he do?
Graham did this. You'll have to watch his video and see how good he did.
I'd love to do that.
Awesome. Sweet. Thanks everybody for tuning in to CanadianYouthWorker.com. We think that you're awesome. We celebrate who you are, but more importantly, we celebrate what God wants to do in you and through you to reach the teens and the families of our great country here in Canada. Blessings on you all. Praying for you. And if you want to get in touch with us, CanadianYouthWorker.com, or here's my Twitter handle, Shameless Self-Promotion.
Hey,
right there.
Yeah.
Okay. God bless. Cheers.
Later.